did I choose The Sting to kick off my cut journey? Well, why not? I mean, it won the Best Picture Academy Award in 1973, but guess what? This movie is sandwiched between two Godfather movies. The Godfather, which won the Best Picture Academy Award in 1972, and The Godfather Part 2, which won the Best Picture Academy Award in 1974. And in between those two is the 1973 The Sting. Oh, of course there are a ton of amazing movies out there that I could have started this journey with, and totally would have, but I chose this one. It has a flavor, a scent that I really love, like scent of a woman, but let's not anticipate. So, we have two monster actors, Paul Newman and Robert Redford, setting up a funny, captivating, catchy plot. But hold on. Have you watched this movie? If not, you should stop right here, go watch the movie, and then come back, because I would hate to spoil it for you. But assuming you've already seen it, let me give you Amy's cut. The plot, or the tale. Joliet, Illinois, September 1936. Funny little side note, one of my study partners in my harp study was from Joliet, Illinois. Oh boy, what times. You know, sometimes I surprise myself dreaming about those times, and the dreaming always ends with the sad realization that they will never come back. So, two business partners. Johnny Hooker, played by Redford, and Luther, played by Robert Earl Jones, trick the courier of a powerful mobster, Doyle Lonigan. Amazingly played by Robert Shaw. Really an amazing actor. So they trick Lonigan's courier out of $11,000, which would be about $250,000 today, being completely unaware of either the amount they just stole or of the owner's identity. Sounds crazy, right? They thought, just another guy walking down the street with just $250,000 in his pocket. Anyway, as a result, Luther is killed by Lonigan's men. Now, the entire movie is about the ingenuity of Henry Gondorff, played by Paul Newman, and Hooker in devising a plan to avenge their friend's death by not only stealing a much larger amount of money from Lonigan, $500,000, which today would be over $11 million, and no, it's not going to be just a poker game. But, and here's the sting, to do it in such a way that Lonigan will never find out. And oh boy, do they ever. So let's start by taking a look at the best scene. When it comes to such a movie, of course, there are a ton of great scenes, and it's a really hard choice to make. But somehow, for me, the best scene of the movie is when Hooker meets Gondorff for the first time. Just look at them. Gondorff's laying drunk on the floor, snoring. Hooker looks at him with disdain and says, "The great Henry Gondorff. That crook, who's an alcoholic, looking so vulnerable, is indeed great, because he is going to steal $11 million from the powerful mobster Doyle Lonigan, leaving him with no chance to ever find out." And the scene continues with Hooker telling Gondorff, who is under the shower now, put there by Hooker in an attempt to wake him up. Hooker says, "Luther said I can learn something from you. I already know how to drink." Beautifully played. Look at his face. Look at his eyes. They're such masters. Now let's move to the funniest scene. And this movie is full of funny scenes, isn't it? But somehow I so enjoyed the fine taste of humor when, in the train, where the poker game was scheduled to take place, Gondorff is getting ready to meet Lonigan for the first time. But what a sense of humor. Just look at what Gondorff does. He steals Lonigan's money even before Lonigan gets the chance to sit at the poker table with him. Come on. How can it get better than that? He stole his money once with his wallet and then again cheating at the poker table. That was clever. You have to admit it. A really fine taste of humor. Now let's move to the saddest scene of the movie. Well, there are actually quite a few of them, but the saddest of them all, for me, is when Hooker has to flee from the crime scene where Alva is desperately crying over her husband Luther's dead body. A friend is unable to mourn his dear friend because he has to run away from the police. I know they did it to themselves, but that still doesn't diminish the sadness and pain of this scene. Now, moving on to the most unexpected turns. You know, when you watch a movie, you have mapped everything in your mind. Who's the bad guy? Who's the nice guy? And so on. But then, all of a sudden, everything turns upside down, and you're like, no, wait, really? Like in Righteous Kill, if you have watched that one. Well, this movie is full of unexpected turns, but two of them really surprised me, and as much as I would have tried to guess, not in a million years. So here, the waitress who helps Hooker not get shot, for one, and who actually ends up spending the night with him, believe it or not, is actually Loretta Salino, the killer paid by Lonergan to find and kill Hooker. And, wait, it doesn't end here. The leather-gloved hand which follows Hooker is actually his savior, killing Loretta Salino. Now, how could anyone anticipate anything like that, really? I mean, even Hooker himself was shocked when he realized who's who. And then, the second most unexpected turn in this movie, Lieutenant William Snyder finally gets to arrest Hooker and takes him to FBI agent Polk, who threatens to imprison Luther's widow if Hooker refuses to cooperate by betraying Gondorf. At this point in the movie, it seems like everything is lost. They've finally arrested Hooker and got him to the point where he has to not only surrender, but also to betray Gondorf as well. But that FBI agent is actually part of Gondorf's plan, and he set Lieutenant Snyder up to get Lonergan out of the club, thus getting rid of both of them in one shot. Again, not in a million years could I have anticipated this one. Now let's move to the funniest line. Alva, Luther's wife, congratulates Hooker about the most recent steal and tells him about the way she used to steal, bragging about the old ways and how good they were. While she is talking, she is moving around, obviously getting ready to leave somewhere. But where? Listen. Come on, Leroy, we'll be late for church. Really? I mean, you're having so much fun remembering the way you used to steal, your husband is a crook, and you're worried that you'll be late for church? Well, that is some real irony. I had to think about it when it came to the best line, because there are so many, but I finally chose this scene. Hooker is telling Gondorf that he wouldn't have asked him to set up the entire operation if it wasn't for Luther's death. Gondorf tells him that revenge is for suckers, to which Hooker's asking, then why are you doing it? It seems worthwhile, doesn't it? To which Hooker turns and leaves. Now, when the entire thing is over, and this is actually the last line of the movie, Gondorf's asking Hooker, you don't stick around for your share? Nah, I'd only blow it. That is the best line. Why? Because it reveals that Hooker didn't risk everything for the money, as Gondorf did, but for Luther. That was his way of paying respect to his old friend by risking his own life. And that is beautiful. Now, in closing, I'd like to share a couple other things I love in this movie. First, right at the beginning of the movie, the scenes where they set up Lonergan's courier by faking a robbery, the so-called robber turns to Hooker and says, "Goddamn nigger lover." Now, I love that back then, they featured in such a big, important movie a close friendship and love between a white man and a black man. I really love that. And yes, this is set in Chicago, which is north, but still, it says something to be featured in a movie like this at that time. And one other thing which I appreciate and I think adds to the overall feeling of this movie is the realism. Not only that Gondorf is not perfect in what he does best, cards, but he also admits it when Hooker says to him about Lonergan, he's not as tough as he thinks. Gondorf replies, neither we. This sense of realism makes the movie feel more like a true story. Now, for the line which encapsulates the entire movie, I chose one of Lonergan's. But to get the full impact of it, we have to watch the scene prior to it. It's in the train when Lonergan loses the poker game. Watch the faces closely when Gondorf, I was about to say won, but no, when Gondorf proved to be a better cheater, a higher level of crook. Lonergan says 4 9s and smiles, knowing they cheated Gondorff and won. Then, unexpectedly, Gondorff doesn't just throw his cards on the table. No, the suspense drags on as he takes yet another look on his cards, even with a slight bit of concern on his face before putting them on the table. 4 jacks. And then Lonergan's like, what was I supposed to do? Calling him for cheating better than me in front of the others? I mean, he was really in catch-22, wasn't he? This is what this movie is all about. Who is the best? And the best is the one who seemed to have lost everything, even his own life, when in fact he just won $11 million, while the one who lost is not even aware of it, and he will never be. An excellent, should I say retro movie for a family friend's Saturday movie night. Fun, surprising, brilliantly acted, excellent storyline, with an expected ending, but with unexpected ending details. I don't really know which movies competed against it back in 1973, but I am not at all surprised that it won the Best Picture Academy Award at that time. And since it still qualifies as a good movie, I wonder, if this movie, this exact movie, with its actors, effects, storyline, and length, would have come out today and competed today in this era of incredible computerized effects, short, fast scenes, short, rapid dialogues, and so forth, would it win any award? I'm curious what you think about that. Somehow, I think it would be all up to who is on the jury. You follow?